Park Business Check-in. We haven't had a chance to talk with our local business folks through all of this COVID-19, and we're so grateful that Charles and Caitlin are here. And so our guest speakers tonight are Caitlin Collier, who's the Oakland Park CRA Relations and Communications Specialist, and Mr. Charles Camacho, who is representing the Oakland Park Business Group. Caitlin, did you want to begin?
Sure, I'd love to. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, let me invite you to do that now.
Okay.
Okay, I know I can do it from here somewhere.
I think it needs to, whoever's showing their screen needs to
unshow
it.
That's
yeah.
me.
Okay.
That share.
Yes, Scott is responsible for all technical.
I'm trying. I'm a little slow today. It's been a really long, rough day. Okay, Caitlin, did you get a request?
I did.
Actually, I made you co-host, so.
Oh, okay. That works too. All right, let's see here. Come on. Great. Good evening, everyone. Caitlin Collier with the Community Redevelopment Agency. Just so you guys know, obviously this is my number and my email address. But first, I wanted to thank the HOA for giving me this opportunity to speak about our Find It in Oakland Park campaign and how residents can help our small business community. So let's get started here. I'm sorry, I've got all of your faces here. I'm gonna have to hide them. I apologize. So I can see my little board. So the Find It in Oakland Park campaign was launched on May 21st on 2020 as a recovery response to the effects of COVID-19. And the aim of this campaign was to spur a movement among residents and now visitors to dine and shop locally within Oakland Park. So right now we have over 50 businesses enrolled in our incentive program, and that incentive program is the hashtag Live Like a Local. The Oak is in local. And what this does is businesses can enroll. It's on our website, www.opcra.com. All they do is provide an incentive. We list them on the website, and then locals or residents can utilize these deals and discounts at the stores and restaurants. So it's really a great opportunity for them. It's really a great opportunity for you. And we also provide not only our platforms through social media, but we also give special opportunities where they can expand their business footprint. In addition to that, we created a Live Local Oakland Park Facebook group, and I highly, highly encourage you guys to sign on if you have a Facebook. Go into the search column, just type in Live Local, and it should be the first thing to populate. You just click onto the page, click join, and you're there. And this is just a great platform to engage with the small businesses, to ask for recommendations, provide reviews, and then be updated on different hours and specials. But I'm gonna stop talking and I will let a Oakland Park resident explain why she feels that the Find It in Oakland campaign is good for small businesses.
Sound's not coming through.
The sound's not coming through?
No.
No? I might have to send it to you, Scott, but we can do that later. I'll just whip through the presentation. So what are our next steps? Our next steps for the Oakland Park CRA is to maximize our platforms, incentivize engagement, and encourage feedback. So we want to optimize our social platforms for our community and for our business growth. This is obviously to improve communication and the relationship between businesses and the city and our residents. And we can do that by creating strong social media platforms. Social media, how I explain it, is basically it's a word of mouth referrals, but just times it by 1,000. And just a simple tag of the business, a simple review on your personal Facebook page does wonders. Even though you might think that your impact is very small, it's actually quite large. So I implore you to make those reviews, tag your businesses if you are on social media. If you aren't, keep talking to your friends. Keep talking to your friends about the businesses that you like to visit, and continue with that conversation. Incentivizing engagement. So this is what we can do to provide you, the residents, good, wholesome content, shooting video testimonials of businesses, obviously creating some and producing some market virtual giveaways. So if you do log on, you might have the potential to win some cool stuff. And obviously we are going to try to encourage feedback and be very present, especially on our Live Local Facebook group. We encourage your feedback, especially with the businesses, because what that does on the social media algorithm is the more you tag the business and the more you engage with the business, that puts them in a higher boost. So you're actually helping them. So it's very important. Like I said, you might think your impact is very small. It's actually very large. So how you can help, I just gave you a few tips. You can also follow the 5 simple ways. Number 1, shout out to favorites on social media. I kind of explained that. 2, eat local and tip extra. I know I always tip extra just personally because I used to be in the service industry fresh out of college, and it was hard back then. I couldn't imagine it now. 3, leave reviews online. Please leave reviews online. If you do not, consult Yelp, and you can do that at www.yelp.com. It's my favorite website. I consult Yelp for literally everything, for doctors, the whole 9 yards. So that's a great platform to leave reviews, and it's very helpful to small businesses, our small businesses. 4, buy gift cards for friends, of course. And 5, spend at small businesses in Oakland Park. And we have a bunch of discounts available to you guys, and it's at our website, www.opcra.com. The next thing, again, is join our Live Local Oakland Park Facebook group, which I explained earlier. And of course, follow us and engage. Oh, someone entered. I'm just going to let them in. I think it's Jack. So how does the city support businesses? The Find It in Oakland Park campaign is a buy local campaign. We actually did this way before other cities with bigger budgets and other counties with way bigger budgets did. And so we're very proud of that fact. In addition to that we are continuing the campaign. And this, when new investors come in or new entrepreneurs looking to settle their business in Oakland Park, this is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for a community that supports their small business, and they're looking for a city that supports their small businesses and their business endeavors. Number 2 is the Business Concierge Service. This is a service that was launched back in October of 2019. And this is for new and existing businesses. We have had a very large, high volume of businesses utilizing this service because of COVID-19. They've had to really were forced to shift focus, and requests can be anywhere from asking for outdoor seating permits, permit statuses, scheduling pre-application meetings, or simply just getting them to the right person to speak to. But this is a free service that we provide. Most cities actually charge for this, but this gives the business, the ability to navigate some of the more hard spots, I guess, of the permitting step-by-step process, but it also allows them to feel comfortable knowing that someone's on their team. Our business webinars is something that we are working with SCORE. We provide them every single month. We took the feedback from our small businesses. They asked for more marketing classes and programs to expand their business footprint online. So that's what we're providing. The next one, I believe, is March 2nd. You can find that on our website, www.opcra.com/resources. And this is open to everyone. If you're a resident and you want to log into Our meetings, by all means, go ahead. And this is for our sister cities too. It's really open to anyone to utilize that material. I actually logged onto the last one and I have a ton of notes, so I highly recommend it. I'm actually incorporating it into the campaign, so it's definitely great, useful material. In addition to that, we are offering virtual business counseling. This is for any business in Oakland Park, and you will work with SCORE entrepreneurs that know everything there is to know in the business game, and you can ask any kind of question. If you're having any type of problem, this is there for you, the Oakland Park businesses. And again, you can find this on our website. Business incentives, we continue to provide the three: the strategic investment grant, the facade grant, and the development and relocation grant. But I'm actually going to send you guys to, let's see if it'll let me go to the website. Did it switch over, or do I have to stop sharing my screen again?
No, it's still the same slide.
Okay. All right, so this is our website, www.opcra.com. One of the pages that we recently created is our business page, and you just click at the top where it says business. And this is the one-stop shop for businesses. It has market overview, opportunities, the business incentives. The 3 grant programs that I just explained are here. You can download them. Featured projects, it goes into OP3D, the facilities, RAM development project. Any information you'd like to know on those particular projects, you can log into there. COVID-19 resources, we update this as Broward County and the federal government come out with new resources and, of course, new grant funding. And businesses events is where you will get the business resources for your webinars. Market overview will actually take you to our state of the market report, which is actually pretty cool. It probably won't let me load, but I implore you to check it out. And then the opportunities page will bring you directly to this page where we have our, we work with Colliers International, and they provide a real estate map, which is right here, generating a map, and a PDF printout for any available for lease or for sale in Oakland Park. So that's really cool for businesses just to pull up on our website. In addition to that, you can get a permit. We have a PDF on the step-by-step process on how to start a business within Oakland Park, where to get a business license, and of course, info on planning. But that's pretty much it. You can go into the dine-in shop. This is where you will find all the Find It in Oakland Park campaign materials and all of the discounts for residents. This is probably what you guys really want to see. And these are all the Live Local discounts. As you can see, they're actually pretty good. You got some 10%, 20%, and free days. So go ahead, check that out. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I really wish you guys could see the video. It's really nice to hear from the business community, especially the art community. But if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Caitlin?
Well, I mean, and this may be more on Peter's side of it, but one of the things I've been curious about, and I had sent Caitlin an email earlier, is with OP3D, and we have a lot of vacant businesses downtown now, and I mean, COVID is COVID, and but I guess as we move forward, I mean, what are we doing to recruit and help fill the vacancies we have? And I mean, I'm a realtor, so I'm partly responsible for that too. But and as OP3D continues to grow and all this new inventory comes on the market, what are we looking for the future type of business that's going to be coming in, and what recruitment programs are we going to be implementing to drive? I mean, you've got some good incentives out there. and how, can we help as far as, if we go to a business, I guess, in another town, we can say, hey, listen, these are our opportunities in Oakland Park, and get these people to come over here. And, part of that also is like, how do we pay for it all? It's like, I mean, I know the budget is tough, and I mean, grants are great, but, they're never a guarantee. And so I'm kind of curious to what the future looks like for our, not even, I mean, mostly, I guess we're here mostly about downtown, but for the future of business in the city of Oakland Park.
Yeah, so thank you, Scott. Everybody, I'm Peter Schwartz. I'm the Director of Community and Economic Development for the city. One of the areas that I have responsibility for supervising is our CRA and our Economic Development section. It's a great question, because the other part of the department that I'm responsible for is the Planning and Zoning section, which most of you know me as a planner. And you're correct, we are working on OP3D, which is our downtown development code, but really we're looking at, more than just the downtown with a lot of, with regard to a lot of your questions. Retail, before COVID came along, retail uses were changing incredibly quick, right? The Amazon marketplace and those virtual marketplaces have been changing commercial properties to begin with, right? There's so many fewer, retail establishments where, there's a lot of inventory, and you walk in, you look at things, you pick it up, you buy it. A lot of people are doing a lot of shopping online, and how do we adapt to that? Retail doesn't need big box 80,000 square foot stores anymore. Not that we had a bunch of those. We're more of a small mom and pop city. I mean, of course, we did have the Kmart site, which is currently being redeveloped, and certainly other large stores. But the trend nationally was changing before COVID came along. So your question related to how do we plan for the future? How do we maximize what we have, and how do we plan for these additional uses? It really is a challenge. One of the things the City Commission took several years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, the city took an interest in branding the downtown as a culinary arts district. And I think that was really a smart thing, right? To really kind of have a niche, market towards one type of use, not restricting it to one type of use, but really concentrating on breweries, restaurants, bars, other related culinary uses. And what we've been doing is actively researching what other types of culinary uses would be appropriate for the downtown, whether it's educational component, whether it's cooking schools or culinary arts schools, additional businesses that are selling kitchen appliances or kitchen utensils or cooking devices, really concentrating on the culinary uses. But the balancing act there is we can't support the downtown or any portion of the city just with one type of use. So it's really about striking a balance. So I feel like I'm taking a really roundabout way to answer your question. But we are currently in the OP3D process, and many of you know what that is, but I'll just be happy to reiterate it for those of you that don't. The city engaged a consultant in late 2018 to look at our downtown zoning code, completely review and analyze our downtown zoning code, and make recommendations for how to improve it so that the downtown redevelops in a cohesive and an attractive way. So what they've done, and we're still in the process of going through that, is they've come up with some recommendations related to how we redevelop as far as a form-based code. And what that means is that there'll be residential and non-residential development guidelines put in place that will guide the construction of the new building inventory that comes along in the city. and it is based more on form than just on the use. And the form would be based on, you know, provision of open space, provision of amenities, provision of the types of things in a way that our code defines, with an orientation towards certain streets, not allowing certain uses on other streets, you know, so that neighborhoods are protected. So that's basically what OP3D is doing in a nutshell. It consists of an amendment to our land use plan, which is in our comprehensive plan. And then it also consists of a little bit further down the road, the rewrite of our zoning designations for that downtown district. And also the adoption of design standards for new development. You know, what the buildings have to have as far as design, step backs in certain areas where the second and third floors are pushed in from the first floor. So we create rooftop terraces for restaurant and dining uses to lessen the impact of building height in the downtown. There isn't a particular architectural style required, but the design guidelines will drive some of that design, you know, when this is all adopted, if it's adopted. So I know I'm getting a little long-winded, and I know Mr. Camacho actually is the next presenter on the agenda for this item. I am going to stick around, and I know that you have an agenda item specifically about OP3 and the community workshop that was held on the 11th. So no matter how long your meeting takes, I will be on the call and I'll answer your questions related to OP3D, you know, later in your agenda when that comes up.
Well, thank you, Pete. We'll try to make it interesting for you while you hang around.
That agenda item is so we can talk about you.
Oh, I can jump off then, but whatever you want, I can take it.
Thank you.
Mr. Camacho.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. I want to congratulate and also welcome the new board. Congratulations, everybody from COPNA who's taken on these additional responsibilities and all the love of labor, or labor of love, if you will, to go and coordinate these meetings and really put the time in and really keep the community together on the same page. So there's a lot of work that goes into these meetings and organizing, and I want to thank you guys and girls for, you know, putting in the work and keeping the community together and keeping the community strong. Sort of to add on to a lot of what the CRA, Caitlin and Pete, and also Pete, I want to welcome you to your new position, and on our side, welcome aboard and good to have you, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Caitlin, great job on that, I guess, that masterful marketing tool that you just put together for us. It was really good. It's a lot of the things that the Oakland Park Business Group has been striving for over the years. And it actually began on my birthday, May 21st. So, you know, what a coincidence, I guess, right? But excellent job. I'm really happy to see a lot of the things that the Oakland Park Business Group over the last 5 to 8 years has been after the city to get on board with and take initiative. So great job on that. And we look forward to supporting it. Just a little bit about what's been going on with the Oakland Park Business Group. Actually, tomorrow is our Zoom meeting. I just sent Scott, if you didn't have it already, the details to our Zoom meeting for tomorrow. We are encouraging all of our locals, all of our residents to please come on board. What we have in store for everybody is pretty much an update of what's been going on from your COVID local professionals. We have Sandy from Light of the World Clinic coming on, giving us detailed information as far as the COVID numbers here locally. We have our local pharmacist, Anish Lakhani from Garden Drug, coming on, giving us some tips and some latest information from that arena. And we also have our tourism professionals coming on, giving us some updates as far as what's trending in hotels and in our local hotels in Oakland Park and surrounding areas. So we have a pretty cool Zoom meeting set up for everybody to join in on and get the latest and greatest on what's been going on with our local businesses, but also come away with some really good information, solid information to really understand what's going on locally as far as tourism, hotel numbers, COVID numbers, and so on. So I think it's really good to get involved and show support, but also come away with a great deal of information as far as the local happenings, if you will. How can you help small businesses besides the 5 easy steps that Caitlin went through, which are huge? I think it's more of a call to urgency and more a call to action for small businesses in Oakland Park. There was some mention of the vacancies that are taking place. COVID has hit small businesses, especially restaurants and bars and lounges, extremely hard. And there's some folks that haven't made it through, and there are going to be a few folks that are going to continue to fall off before things turn around. And it's unfortunate, but they need help. So the little things that you can do is social media, get out, maybe not buy that stuff on Amazon. And if you can get out to the local and do a pick up by curbside or arrange some sort of business transaction with your local supplier, it's going to go a long way. So I think there's more of an urgency factor right now, the next 3 to 6 months, while the vaccines get out and the numbers start to curtail a little bit. There's some folks that are really hanging on by a thread. So if we can get out and support and have that sense of urgency within our community to get the word out and really be local, it's going to really go a long way for a lot of our diners and our restaurants and everybody that follows suit. So tomorrow, again, we're on Zoom. We'd be more than happy to have you guys come on and girls come on and share some information and really hear from the residents and what they're looking for and how we can get our small businesses to serve other areas that they're missing the boat on, get some more information that from the end user, the customer, to share with the business group, and concerns and so on. So, we've always had an open platform. All of our meetings for the last 8 years have always been open to the general public and residents, and we've always included a lot of feedback. And that feedback goes a long way. And what's great about local is it doesn't have to go up the corporate ladder. Things get done quickly, right? And we react quickly. So what's great about the small businesses is that if there's something that's can be fixed and get fixed right away. And sometimes the business owner may just be missing it, may not understand, right? So a little bit of information can go a long way. I know we have a full agenda, but I'll keep it short. We definitely are very grateful to be here tonight with you folks and continue to do our outreach as much as we can within the community and go into different homeowner association meetings and so forth. But again, please keep it local, shop Oakland Park, and anything that we can answer for you tonight, be more than happy to answer. And please join us tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. I just wanted to ask one quick question. Can you give us any sort of a guess as to how many of our small businesses in Oakland Park have shuttered due to the COVID?
I think I wouldn't venture to guess, but that's definitely something that I think Caitlin and Peter can probably expand on, because they see the business licenses and they see that kind of stuff going on in the background. So I want to get a real number on that, but I do know from just face to face, there are some folks that are suffering right now that they have a great poker face, but if you know them long enough, you understand that if things don't change around quickly, that they're not going to be able to come out. And again, we went through this quite a long time ago, not the same thing, of course, but when you have vacancies, your community is going to suffer. The blight comes, the crime follows right after that. And then all of a sudden it just festers out into the community. When you have an open store and you have business going in and out, it's lit up, the property's lit up, it's taken care of. And sort of that keeps away the bad stuff. And that's proven. I mean, we've had countless meetings with the BSO in Oakland Park with the old captain. And, he says, Charles, it's night and day. When you guys cleaned up Powerline the calls, the community that was going on in that area, that were getting that crime and vagrancy and crime was went way down. He showed us the numbers. So, you know, we have a lot of our small businesses that are on the fringes of very large communities, HOAs. So when those small businesses start shuttering, there's no lights on, there's no traffic. People start hanging around, and then they start using those streets, right? And they start using those side streets, and then you start having problems. So we need to do the best that we can as a community to support these small businesses, whether it just be getting the word out, sharing it on your social media, tagging whoever, but you know, for the long run, as for a community as a whole, a healthy small business community is always going to be great for your property taxes, great for your property values, great for safety, security, and so on. So, and it's proven. So, as far as a number, I'm sorry, Jeff, to be expanded on that answer, but
Oh no.
yeah, we will have some numbers, and I think, you know, I think we're going on probably a year in May, so we'll probably have a better idea of what didn't make it and what is still struggling to keep up with going for this year.
Great. Well, thank you, Charles. Does anyone have any? Does anyone else have questions for Charles?
Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome. Thank you again for having us, and congratulations
Charles.
on the new board, everybody.
But Jeff, before
Yeah,
we
Charles.
move on, I'd like to.
Oh yes, Scott.
No, but I just would like to maybe make a motion that since Peter's on waiting, if Chris doesn't have an objection, that we move item number 9 up before committee reports and move into that. So
That's fine with me.
that Peter and doesn't have to sit around and listen to our treasurer's report.
I'm good either way, but I do appreciate it. If that's okay with you guys, I'd be happy to.
But Chris, that's your call. You ready to take over?
Yeah, absolutely. I just, more than anything, guys, or folks, as a group here, since we have a great opportunity to speak to Peter, and I know he's very forthright, and a lot of the times I've had the opportunity to speak with him, I just wanted to ask a couple questions to help get this, as you will, sorry, television background here, segment started. You know, Peter, and listening to, and with that being said, I want to get to the first question. Peter, listening to last week, there was a town hall meeting with Ziskovich and Jennifer Frosty that I had a chance to listen in on. And Grace Perdomo with Ziskovich says, we are promoting to enhance open space. And I know, Jack, you being on the P&Z board, you can speak to this. It was discussed at length, open space, and what will now the terminology be permitted. I want to ask, just in a synopsis, Peter, what is going to be called open space if it does pass through the commission in just a simplistic form?
Okay, thanks, Chris. I'll try to be as simple as I can. I do have a tendency to get technical occasionally. That's the urban planner in me. Let me just start by saying that right now, our downtown mixed-use district, our existing zoning code for the downtown area, does not have an open space requirement for developers, for property owners. The only requirement is a 5% open space requirement, which would be the pervious area of a site. And what pervious area means, and this is a technical word, but I'll let everybody know, pervious area is unpaved, right? So if it's not asphalt, it's not concrete, doesn't have a building sitting on it, it's not a parking lot, it's not a sidewalk. If rainwater can drain into the ground and percolate through the ground down into the aquifer, that's pervious area. So right now, our downtown code only requires in some of the areas 5% of a lot to be pervious. That means 95% of the lot can have a building on it or asphalt or a sidewalk or whatever. So what we're doing is we are creating an open space requirement in the new downtown code. Now, what Chris's question, I think, gets to is what is considered open space? Because I think most people, when they think of open space, they think of parks, they think of, you know, conservation areas and areas that are open to the public. You know, so what we're talking about in the downtown code, in this new zoning code about open space, is areas that are not necessarily impervious or pervious, but that are open to the public on private property. So this is outside of public parks that we're going to be requiring and providing for, green space. It's not necessarily green space. What open space is in this downtown code is areas of lots that are required to be open and accessible. Things like green plazas in front of buildings. Rooftop terraces might count as open space. We're still looking into that. But in certain places, courtyards and plazas, a sidewalk that runs through a green space could be included in this overall open space. Open spaces are places where people can gather, where they can sit, relax, enjoy the surroundings. So the definition of open space, is a little bit broader than a green space or a park space. We will be defining in the new code open space, green space, park space, so that each of those is more clearly defined. There will still be minimum landscape requirements for all developments and lots as they come through. There will still be, there will still be minimum pervious areas, because that's an important function, of development, is making sure that there's appropriate amounts of pervious area for the rain and drainage and all those things to happen. So, Chris, I don't know if that answers your question adequately. And if you give me a minute, I wasn't really prepared. I knew that some of these questions, were going to be coming up. If you give me a minute, I may be able to find what we're proposing for a definition. I don't know that I have a link to my work file here on my home computer, so I apologize.
Not a problem. I just kind of wanted to lay it out for everybody with COPNA so they had an understanding of what you were approaching, because I understand in the rezoning that we're eyeballing right now as a city, especially the OP3D project, with the up to 6-story height, 2 stories toward the neighborhood into our specific neighborhood region, that when you mention rooftop terraces, those being open spaces for the public, I have a hard time comprehending that. So I wanted you to elaborate a little bit. And when you mention restaurants, that makes a little bit more sense. But when you're talking about a 6-story unit or a 6-story building, which would have residents within it, them allowing that open to the public, I really have a hard time, outside of that being a hotel or something like that, wrapping my head around that.
Understood. So yeah, those areas would be open to the public in some way, shape, or form, whether they are for a restaurant use or for some other kind of public access. If it's only for the residents of that building, per se, so if we had a rooftop terrace, on top of a 6-story building, there's a lot of environmental advantages to that, having additional green space on a roof. It helps with cooling, it helps with carbon reductions, certain things. No, that probably would not count as towards the open space requirement that's going to be specified in the code. But there's still some benefits that we would like to encourage that to happen. So the open space requirements will be very defined. And, I think they'll be palatable once they're all developed and finished. One of the things is that, the code isn't finished yet. The code isn't written. We've been working on this a long time. But you all heard from the city commission that they wanted more input with each of the commissioners. We met with each of the 5 city commissioners, the mayor, the vice mayor, and the 3 other commissioners, for several hours each, the Ziskovich team, Jennifer and myself. And then we had the community workshop on the 11th to receive more input. We've also received, some other written comments since then. All of those would, of course, be incorporated into anything that we do. And then I just want to mention that there's additional opportunities for public participation through each of these things. So the land use plan amendment, the zoning code, the rezoning of the areas, and the land development, the design standards. Those will all go before the planning and zoning board, which is each of those will be a public hearing with an opportunity to address the planning and zoning board, and therefore, put it on the public record. And then each of them requires 2 city commission meeting public hearings as well, except just to be completely transparent, the design standards, I don't believe, go to the planning and zoning board. Those get adopted by the city commission by resolution, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to check, because if we adopt them into the land development code, everything in the land development code does go to the planning and zoning board. So there's going to be several more opportunities for public participation. We feel like there's about a year left of process, and that's because the land use plan amendment process goes through a rigorous review, gets transmitted from the city commission after it's been at the planning and zoning board to Broward County. The Broward County Planning Council hears it at a public hearing. They make a recommendation to the county commission. The county commission hears it at a public hearing. They take an action to transmit it to the state of Florida, about 12 different state of Florida review agencies, things like Department of Economic Opportunity, DOT, Wildlife, Water Management District. All these different state agencies take a look at it, make sure it's consistent with adopted state and regional plans. Then it comes back to the county planning council, back to the county commission, before it comes back to the city commission. So unfortunately, that portion is the longest. It takes that process, if all's going well, we think it'll be 10 to 12 months. And then near the end of that is when you'll start seeing the adoption of the zoning code and the rezoning of the downtown, if it moves forward. So again, I feel like I'm the most technical blabbermouth there is, but I really want to try to give you guys as much of a feel for the process and for the work that we're doing. I can tell you though, the work we're trying to make sure that everything we do is an improvement, and not just in our own mind that, this isn't about overdevelopment. Really, a lot of the changes that we're making are consistent with what's in the code now. It's just really refining the existing code and the vision that was given to us by the previous city commissions, the ones that started this downtown in 2005, the one that went through the city workshops in 2015, the commission that brought the RFQ for this project in 2016. I mean, this has been around already for 5 years, between the issuing of the request for qualifications through the award of this to Ziskovich through the last 2.5 years. So, yeah, so next question.
Okay. So I think a lot of us, not to speak for myself, but I think in this whole group, or to speak for myself, I think a lot of us are very excited about what's the downtown, the OP3D project, what will come of it in a lot of ways, and just and helping some of the local business owners, as we heard earlier, and just our own property values escalate through that time and process. But I have heard you say in the past that the Alpha Omega Church is something you're reviewing about building into another public park. It feels a little bit like three-card Monte in the way that Greenleaf Park, according to the OP3D project laid out by Ziskovich, is going to be rezoned for 6-story and 3-story buildings. Now, I understand you would have to do that in order to open that up, but at the same token, why would, if City Manager David Hebert has said in the past that he's all about being conservative when it comes to taxpayer money, is he willing to build a new park less than 45 feet away?
So, Chris, thanks. It's you've asked the question before. I appreciate it. The City Hall property, that entire block from City Hall to the library, so from 12th to 13th, 36th Street to 37th Street, that entire block is owned by the City of Oakland Park. A decision's already been made to relocate the library to the City Park site at Collins, and the redevelopment of that is in the planning phase and is underway. We don't know, and I know you're tired of hearing us say this, but we don't know what's going to happen with the City Hall property. That property was just recently, a month or so, approved for an analysis by Ziskovich as task 3 of the RFP that they've entered into with us, the agreement that they've entered into with us. So they're analyzing that separately from the OP3D project. Now, I think your question is valid and on point. Why are we changing what's on the City Hall site zoning wise? Well, it's part of this comprehensive review. We're actually changing, proposed building heights all through the district. We're rearranging them. We're making them a little bit more appropriate. Right now, City Hall has the civic sub area zoning category in the downtown. And only that site and the post office site have that zoning sub area. And if I recall, I believe it allows 4 stories maximum on the site with additional building height allocated to it. And it's smack dab in the middle of this downtown core district, which is going to allow the 6 stories. So we honestly, not because of what we're planning on doing in the future on the site, but just to be consistent with the properties to the north, to the south, and the entire downtown core district, we think it's appropriate to allow 6 stories with the additional bonus height as approved by, the city commission that's sitting at the time of a proposed development. We did build in the entire district along 13th Avenue facing the other side of 13th Avenue is the Corals, is the residential area of the city that's not included within the downtown. We thought it was very important to try to protect that neighborhood from additional building height. So we're only allowing that 2-story maximum along 13th Avenue for the entire length of 13th Avenue from 38th Street down to Oakland Park Boulevard. So adjacent to 13th Avenue will be 2 stories. It steps back, and I believe it goes in 90 feet before you're allowed to go above the 2 stories, which is, a typical, depth of a block in that, or a lot in that area. So we felt that, with that step back, that 2-story maximum along 13th Avenue, that the 6 stories on the City Hall site, as well as the other parcels within that area to the north and the south, that was appropriate, because that's what we intend to be the core, running north and south along the, from 12th Avenue to that 90-foot line. So no decision, I can honestly tell you, no decision's been made internally. Certainly not by the city commission, because we haven't really executed, we haven't even seen anything from Ziskovich yet about what's possible. Now, to get back to your question about the Omega Church site, just because I do have a tendency to, I really like what I do, and I'm so happy. I
gotta tell you, brother, I would have edited you a long time ago if we were doing a TV interview. We gotta work on brevity.
If I was writing this, then it'd be super short. I hate writing. So anyway, I'll be brief.
Start typing.
The Omega Church site, the city bought that a few years ago. We bought properties kind of all over the downtown. We were kind of land banking a little bit. One of our studies we did for mobility and parking indicated that, we would need some additional parking to support some of these businesses. So we bought some lots, not knowing exactly what we were going to do with it, but there were some bargains. We own property on 35th Street and 13th Avenue. We own the anchor lots, as it's called, down on South on Oakland Park Boulevard behind the Big Dog Station. We own that lot. We own some lots on the west side of Dixie. So we started, I think, trying to be proactive, buying these lots as inexpensively as we could. Knowing that we'd be able to, utilize them for appropriate uses in the future. Now, if the appropriate use is a parking lot, a parking garage, a tennis court, a park, that's really up to the city commission to decide in the future, but that's where we are with that.
Give it to.
We've got.
I have one more quick question, and Peter, I know
I have a question too.
I see George has a question. Yeah, and I thank you for sticking around and just kind of being a sounding board for us to be educated here. I do have one quick concern I wanted to speak of real quick, and Peter, you don't have to. I mean, you could elaborate; it'd be great. But
I'll keep it short.
You had said benefits to happen. But when you're talking about rooftop terraces and potential businesses operating up there for public workspaces, my question will be about 13th Avenue. But I just want to say there is a concern here about benefits that could happen for potential businesses built on rooftop terraces, but doesn't necessarily have to happen. So that's concerning, hearing that it's not necessary that, those would have to be open spaces open for the public, and hearing that. So, but anyways, my question, and you can do a two-parter here if you want, but my question is what runs up against our neighborhood is the actual traffic that we will see and potential expansion of 13th Avenue, because we already have problems when it comes to 36th Street that parks right by Greenleaf Park there, the lack of stop signs, and the people speeding through these areas now. With 13th Avenue and the eventual, as being proposed with OP3D, more traffic that we have in the area, you're going to need other revenue or other streams of traffic. Is 13th Avenue being discussed that runs right up against the neighborhood as a potential, 4-lane, even more 2-lane, or,
No, 13th Avenue is proposed to remain as is. Actually, it's in our capital program for a Complete Streets project, which Complete Streets are projects that are intended to reduce speeds to make them more accessible to all modes of transportation, bicycle, pedestrian, and the automobile. So bike lanes are proposed for, dedicated bike lanes along 13th Avenue and sidewalk improvements. And we're proposing a really nice wide 9-foot sidewalk on 13th Avenue to really give that pedestrian context. When we do that, there won't be any right-of-way left for any additional car lanes. But if we do anything on 13th Avenue, it would be improvements meant to calm and reduce traffic and speeds. The goal of OP3D, with the way the street hierarchy is being proposed, is to push all traffic, out onto the Dixie Highway, down to Oakland, up to Prospect. So one of the concepts, and this is hard to believe, and it's counterintuitive, but part of what you're trying to do when you're developing this downtown by adding all these uses is to reduce traffic by making the downtown walkable, that people can walk downstairs from their apartment, go to the coffee shop, get their dry cleaning done, not get in the car and make these single occupancy vehicle trips. The ultimate is, I live on the 5th floor. I walk down to the 2nd floor office space where my company is, and then I go down to the 1st floor for lunch at Butcher Barrel or Boulay Green. And I never have to get in a car, or I walk out and I hop on a train or a bus or an Uber or a micro transit vehicle. So really that's the kind of philosophy about developing downtowns, is to keep everything inside so that it actually reduces the number of vehicle trips. South Florida is a vehicle-based place. This isn't New York that was based on a subway before there were, before there were cars, and it's not Boston, it's not DC. We get it. Mass transit in this town and in this county and in South Florida is mediocre at best, and it's kind of tough, right? It rains here. It's always hot. You don't want to wait for buses. So transit's a challenge. But that's the concept. So really, I don't remember the second part of the question, but 13th Avenue, I don't anticipate. And I know Caitlin loves when I'm on these tangents, so I apologize.
It seems.
And I noticed there are 2 other people who want to speak also.
I'm done now, but I just wanted to say, it seems to me like we're aiming for a 3rd Avenue in North Fort Lauderdale, a Federal and Fort Lauderdale is kind of the concept that's being thrown up. Unfortunately, those businesses, I've seen them come in and out Mellow Mushroom, amongst many others, have failed because those residents weren't working, weren't attending there. So that's just my point of view and what I've seen over that time period and living there. So I hope it works for us. I just hope for the local business owners that it's more advantageous than it's not.
Yeah, Chris, I appreciate your input, and I think you're right on. I just think that, Oakland Park, we're just trying to be a little bit smaller town and not, do those types of things. Third Avenue is an excellent comparison. So thank you.
Doug, you had a question?
Yes. So, Peter, I actually live on 13th Ave, and I'm looking out my sliding glass doors to what may possibly be a 6-story building. And I want to know, have you guys taken into consideration, as the existing homeowners, the effect on the value that will happen to these homes having a 6-story possible building immediately behind it? Because in 2009, we were not zoned that way, and they changed the zoning, which still had that 2-story, 3-story townhomes that were immediately behind me. And now this new one is my property line, where my pool, my backyard will now face that.
So Doug, where are you at? So I have a reference.
So I'm 3561 Northeast 13th Avenue. So I'm the west side of 13th Avenue, just south of the park.
Okay, I got you. So you're on the west side of 13th Avenue.
So I'm zoned for multi-family townhomes, which was like that probably since 2010.
Well, if you're on the west side of 13th Avenue, you're in the downtown.
Correct.
So right now, right now our zoning code all over the downtown only allows 3 stories by right. And when we say by right, is if somebody comes in and buys a building or buys a lot, and they don't really go through any special process or don't ask for anything more, the maximum they're allowed to build is 3 stories, 36 feet. Everybody in the downtown, pretty much the entire downtown, is subject to that 3-story limit. The city in our downtown code has the ability to ask the city commission for additional building height. And in some places in the downtown, it's 2 extra stories up to 5. And then in other places, it's 3 extra stories up to 6.
I'm the 6.
Right. And it's not a guarantee that a city commission has to approve it. There's nothing in our code that says if the developer does this, they have to do this. It's completely up to the commission, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to clarify, that no place in the downtown can anybody just come in and build 6 stories without going through our development review committee, our planning and zoning board, and our city commission. Moving forward with OP3D, we are keeping that concept in place. You will still be bound to 3 stories everywhere in the downtown by right, except we're lowering it along 13th Avenue to 2 stories with the step back. We're lowering it along Main Street, 12th Avenue, to 2 stories with a step back. And along a section over by the Funky Buddha to the north, it'll be 1 story lower as well. The step back will be a story lower than the rest of the district. We're keeping in that city commission approval requirement for additional building height, but it's not just an ask. They have to provide public benefits in order to be considered for the additional building height. Public benefits, something that would benefit the public, they have to do an analysis that the cost is at least a certain amount, it meets a threshold, and the public benefits could be park space, public parking to help the parking situation in the downtown, water fountains, art, plazas. There's a whole list of items that are currently permitted in our downtown code to meet that requirement. So,
Pete, I'm sorry to interrupt. I see that Deputy Osborne has joined us. And so if we just wrap on Doug's question.
Right. So Doug,
George,
the long and the short of it is, I got you, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. I just noticed myself.
So right now, Doug, only 3 stories is permitted by right. It would take a special act to go above the 3 stories, and public input would be, considered at the city commission.
Have diminished values and current existing residents been considered for the new code?
Yeah.
And how they're looking at it?
All our analysis shows no diminishing values for property with what we're doing. If anything, we see increases in property value due to the redevelopment opportunities that are within the downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George, you had a question?
Yeah, I knew if I waited long enough, someone would touch on it. But
Sorry.
the parcels on Main Street are quite small, and we need to get usable open space. And you touched on it now. And my question was, can we build something in where we incentivize the open space, which you said maybe a higher building? So perhaps, limited to 4 stories, and you can go to 5 or 6 if you give back open space to the public, because 5%, it's not going to give much back to the public.
You're exactly right. So it's limited to 3 stories, and they can go above 3 stories if they provide a public benefit, including open space. So, and then just the last thing, because I know the deputy has been waiting. We're also adding policies to the comprehensive plan into our downtown code for the city to do more with regard to park space and open space. So in the long range plan, we'll be doubling the amount of acreage in the downtown from 6 acres of public park space to 12.
Thank you, Pete. And thank you, Pete, Chris, George, Doug, all great questions. I'm sure we could all,
Thanks for putting up with me. I really appreciate you all.
I just want to jump in for 1 second. First, I want to thank Pete for clarifying the green space and open space, because when we wrote the resolution for what we would like to see happen at the Omega Church property, we pulled out our own definition book to try to figure out what exactly that was. But if you can say it real quick, and I know you're going to want a long explanation, but did something recently happen with the bridge height at the Oakland Park Square building? Did that change at all recently, or?
I'm not exactly sure. The developer is working on the Oakland Park Square project. He was having trouble, and I know he's negotiating with FPL about, whether it's above or below the power lines, or if the power lines could be moved. The last I heard is the building might come down in height a little bit, so that's a win-win.
Very good, perfect.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, guys.
Oh, no, thank you. We really appreciate it. That was
Thanks,
a lot of really
Caitlin, for staying on and making sure I didn't get in trouble. All right,
Deputy Osborne, thank you for being here. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you, guys. I was trying to log on. Thank you, guys. Just finished another Zoom, so I said I wouldn't give up. I'm gonna keep logging on. So it kept saying waiting for host. So I said, you know what? Let me keep trying again. So thank you guys for being patient. I apologize for that. But I don't want to take too much of your time. But I got a lot that we want to go over today. So I thank you guys for having me here today. It's a pleasure coming to you guys, just updating the community with what's going on. Thank you, Mr. Scott, for having me on here.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you. And so first, and I know, and I like the idea that you guys, had questions. You guys email me, and that's what we want. We want you guys to ask, and if I don't have the answer, we'll try to get you the answer, because we want to communicate with the community on what's going on. So I'm going to start as I do it each week. I don't know who's new on here or not, but Deputy Osborne with the Sheriff's Office, Community Resource Deputy, and I'm here to bring you guys crime prevention tips, recommendations, show you guys our numbers, what's happening in your area of the crime. In your area, covering the dates from when we last had this meeting, from the 26th all the way to the 22nd of February. We had 1 assault. We had 4 burglaries to a vehicle. We had 2 robberies. We had one theft, 1 motor vehicle theft, and 1 sex crime. A lot of these cases are still active, so I could give you the glimpse, but we can't go into detail because a lot of these cases are still active and pending. But with the sexual battery case, it was actually at a massage parlor where we had that case right there The burglary case was near the area of Funky Buddha area where someone broke into the back of someone's truck. The theft was a theft of a phone. So in that area, so we had someone who stole someone's phone. Burglary, we had a couple of burglaries where vehicles were left open and individuals ransacked their vehicles. And we did have a burglary residence where a burglary did go inside of a person's home. The robbery that we had two robberies in the area. And I'll talk about the one later on because the one question that you guys had, I'll talk about with your robbery, which was the helicopters. I believe somebody put that in the question. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. Well, one of the robberies was high value items was taken from an individual. Like I said, I can't discuss too much in the case, but we did have those cases inside Oakland Park within your area of the community. We had questions reference to the speeding. I'm going to go over to you guys questions that you guys had. So there were questions that was posed last week. I know a lot of people mentioned the speeding and the car crash and things of that nature. The Oakland Park last week we did a traffic off. There was traffic concerns. So there's speed in the area of Northeast 16th Terrace and Northeast 42nd Street. So the city is looking at traffic engineering possibilities, and we'll be working on this with the city, and deputies are patrolling the areas over there. We did from February 1st to February 22nd. We had a grand total of 976 traffic citations. 331 of those were warning citation. 479 of those was actual citation. So we have a operation plan right now in place that we're hitting the high areas in Oakland Park, and we're issuing citations. So they're out there working hard getting those citations. There was a question about the traffic calming control device, speed bumps and stop sign enforcement. You guys do have to go through the city website and go to the report a problem. It's under Public Works. We will enforce it, but under Public Works, you can go ahead and put that request in, because it takes engineering. It takes them to do statistical studies before those signs come up, see where the traffic speeds. They monitor speeds. They monitor a whole lot. So it's a whole lot that goes into those device reference to speed bumps and traffic signs. I know that was a question. Did anybody have a question on that?
Yeah, I do. I've been working with the city, and I actually spoke with Captain Tammy and Lieutenant Auerbach the other day.
Yes,
and they advise that they're working on the whole program for us, but as a community, we have to come together and decide if we think that speed bumps are a necessity, and if so, the community and the board are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive coming together for that. But Lieutenant Auerbach did state that they did a speed study or a traffic study on 16th Terrace and 42nd Street for 72 hours. And they had 142 cars going in one direction, 120 going in another direction. And out of all those cars, 61 vehicles were going way above the speed limit. That could be 30, 35, and some vehicles as high as 50. And yet the city doesn't really deem that necessary to put any kind of speed bumps in because they don't have enough votes. Is there anything else that you could suggest that we could do as residents in the meantime while we're working with the city?
Well, yes, and I'll speak to the captain and lieutenant. They did recommend that they spoke to you. Absolutely. Keep putting in those complaints or your concerns to the city. And also, if you guys see it, we're going to be out there enforcing it as we are enforcing it. We gave you those statistical numbers. We're going to continue to be out there, but it's going to take the community. It's a long process. It's not an overnight process. So it's going to take a little process for us to keep putting in the complaints or concerns that you guys have in that area. But it is more than just, it's a lot that goes into it for it to be approved. And like you said, it has to go through the city for that to be approved. We will enforce it.
I understand it's going to take a long time, but it's already been 3 years. And one other thing, 3 years. And the city wants us to do more work, guys. So be prepared. However, Lieutenant Orbach did, give us the statistics of all the citations, and there were quite a few citations on 38th Street from Dixie to Federal. However, no citations on the 16th Terrace, 42nd Street corridor, which a lot of people are taking for shortcuts. So is there any way that you could set some surveillance up in that area or do some patrolling to make sure that you could catch a few people? Because it's not the residents that live there, it's the people using it as a shortcut.
Yes, we are currently under operation right now, a traffic operation. I'm going to put an email in, right? 16th Terrace and 42nd Street.
Correct.
Okay, absolutely. Is there any other area? Because I think that was a concern that you guys want to see police presence. If there's a specific area where you guys would like to see that, I know that was one of the questions.
Yeah, Doug is.
Yes.
Yeah, I go
So-
13th Avenue for sure.
I live on 13th Avenue and by the park, and there is constantly not only 18-wheelers driving down our street, which is against what is allowed, but also the speeders and the fact that I guess Broward County will not put four-way stops at some of these streets where people are running them and causing accidents. I've had multiple people come to my house asking for camera footage from my cameras to show this intersection where they're actually running into these people and causing these accidents. So that's the first one.
And what
The
area
second
is
one,
that, sir?
it's 13th Avenue and 36th Street, right by the Green Tree Park.
Okay.
And I've seen these 18-wheelers down 34th, down 38th East, and also down Florinata Road throughout the Quarles, which then brings me into Florinata Road. So Monday morning at about 6:45, I'm jogging through. I'm at the roundabout. BSO almost hits me because they did not acknowledge the pedestrian crossing. I couldn't get my camera out to take a picture of the car, but we have a serious problem on Florinata Road as well with speeding, including BSO, not acknowledging the pedestrian crossing. So that's been a concern. I've spoke to Jennifer Frastai and the team there, and I know you guys have a additional thing that's going on with the sidewalks, but there really needs to be more presence there because the speeding, including BSO, but also the people cutting through is becoming a pedestrian issue. And I know we've had somebody that was struck by a car and died about 5 years ago, which implemented the whole sidewalk scheme that was put in there that didn't complete the connection. So it would be great to have presence in those locations because of the pedestrian traffic.
And if I could add to what Doug's saying, my car on the corner was totaled at the intersection of 13th Avenue and 36th Street. I was going west and he went through, he was going north on 13th Avenue and went through the stop sign, speeding. It felt like 50 miles an hour. He was suddenly there and my car was totaled. He was cited for both speeding going through the stop sign. So that intersection is particularly precarious, apparently.
And that's the entrance.
36th Street.
And that's the entrance to a park where children are walking with their families. Like I'm walking there with my dogs and I can't move them fast enough if a car just decides to, go 60 miles per hour to get to the Dixie. And it's a hazard. And again, I'm glad, Jack, you weren't injured, but people will be eventually injured if we don't address that issue.
I gotta say on that intersection that when I first moved here, I mean, I had a couple close calls there and I don't know whether it's just poorly designed, but I ran that stop sign once by mistake and just realized after I got through and somebody almost hit me because I ran the stop sign.
Oh, that was you.
So
That was 2015. Statute of limitations is done.
So the city has suggested things putting speed humps on 36, which doesn't address the issue is that the people that are approaching the intersection, they don't understand fully if it's a four-way stop, if it's a two-way stop, and proper markings would improve it. And I've explained this to Jennifer's team at the time when she was overseeing some of this, but we're constantly watching these cars. And I literally will sit there with my dogs watching cars just literally almost collide with each other, not knowing what's going on. So even if we can't make a four-way stop, we need to mark it so people understand there's a crossroad. There are the only people that can stop there are from the 13th Avenue side, but like there needs to be better visuals so that people aren't getting hit and children aren't getting hit.
I also think that on the northeast corner, the stop sign is somewhat obscured by the trees in that person's lawn. And they should be required, which I think is a city and state thing, that, you know, that any shrubberies or anything that in any way block the sight lines for driving have to be cut back. And maybe we can get code enforcement involved to check that.
I think she has the 25-foot requirement for the visual. It's just that, I mean, people will make that turn from the next road, which I guess is what? It's not 15th, it's the next road east of us. And then they just haul down to try to get past the railroad tracks.
We live on 16th Terrace going into 42nd Street, and there are many, many people speeding, including delivery trucks. And also I've seen some city vehicles as well speeding. And, you know, we appreciate the BSO counting cars and doing citations, but if they just relax the restrictions on putting down the speed bumps, you know, the BSO could do other things instead of monitoring cars and giving out speeding tickets. It'd be enforced 24 hours a day.
Deputy, I was notified by a public works person who was saying that the do not enter sign connected to the stop sign in front of the library here, that's actually illegal. They're not allowed to be connected signs. They're supposed to be two separate signs. And oftentimes we have people blowing through the do not enter right by the library. And prior to COVID, there would be school buses out there with children all the time, and people wouldn't think anything of it. So that's at 13th Avenue and 36th.
And you said Public Works told you that that sign is not supposed to be there?
Yeah, they say it's illegal because it's connected. If you're going to have two signs, they need to be two separate signs. It shouldn't be one. I don't know any better. I'm asking you. But
is that something that would be their avenue? Is that something that they're looking to as far as signage?
No, he just said, the gentleman, he just says, I just hang the signs. It's not my job to regulate it. But, you know, we do get a lot of people blowing through the do not enter right by the library. You have the children's facility right there. And then you have the kids park with a playground and all that. So as much as Doug and Jeff were referring to, and Jack were referring to, you know, the children playing outside that side of the park, just the next road over on 13th and 36th, you have the same situation.
So the main street that you guys are having an issue with that people are blowing through is 13th Ave and 36th Street?
Yes.
I would say 13th Avenue from 38th all the way to Oakland. Because what people do is if they're traveling, I think primarily going west on 38th, they'll turn on 13th going south and use that as a shortcut so they don't have to go through the stoplights and things on Dixie because they want to get down to Oakland Park, and they barrel that way. And then people coming the other way do the same thing. If they're on Oakland, they turn right on 13th and barrel up that way to get to 38th so they can miss that Dixie Oakland intersection. So there's, and then with it being, you know, every other street is a stop sign and it's not consistent, especially if it's people that don't live in the area. You know, like the guy that hit Jack, he lived right by there. Like he should have known, but he was obviously not paying attention, speeding. Thank God he got cited and Jack wasn't hurt. But it's that we really try to avoid that area. Those streets right behind to the east of downtown, just because of those intersections, because there's not striping on the pavement. I think if they even did that, I mean, I know that's not your purview, but if there could be some police dragnets along there, so people would know, oh, they're watching. Anything to deter them from taking that shortcut. Scott, I'm sorry.
Well, I think, you know, I mean, a lot of that is great. And you know, I mean, the deputy's here and he needs to know, you know, those intersections to be aware of and what to do. But I believe, Sal, we are going to focus March's meeting, I believe, to talk to Jennifer and her team about the mechanisms that we can put in place in those areas. That's what, because I mean, the deputy's more here for, you know, to find out those intersections, but I don't think it's his job to tell us about, you know, the design and how to get it done, but where we think more patrolling should be done.
Correct. Yeah, we have the city coming, and we could definitely use, you know, your input to give us ideas on patrolling and what areas need patrolling. But we do have to work with the city on this for traffic calming, you know, and they know these spots. They know 13th Avenue is a dangerous road, and the county will not put a four-way stop sign. They know 42nd Street, 16th Terrace is a cut through, and yet they're having a hard time giving the speed bump. So what we need from you is just to do the patrolling in those areas, because those are shortcuts that everybody's taken. We understand that you can't give us the resolution that we want from the city, but as far as the daily patrolling is concerned,
yeah, absolutely. We're gonna definitely enforce that. I just got off another Zoom call on the 35th, 33rd, 35th of 3rd Ave, and they're having the same issue. And a lot of what I'm seeing is people are just disregarding the stop signs. Like a lot of people are just blowing, signs are there, but they're blowing through it, and then a lot of them are not even paying attention to the signs. So it is a concern, because now we have the schools in the area, we got a library over there, so it's a major concern to us. I'm going to be over there in that area tomorrow, 13th Ave, and take a look at it myself tomorrow morning. I'm going to get
Deputy Osborne, can I just
I'll
ask?
probably see you there walking my dogs.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna be there early. I'm gonna be there around 6:37. I'll be in that area around that time.
Good chance.
Can I ask Deputy Osborne if you or if anyone else knows who would be responsible or in charge of putting some kind of indication on the street corners themselves, on the streets themselves? Who's in charge of that? No, in terms of striping on the streets or anything like that, that would indicate, that would highlight the intersection of the sign.
Works, but I'm gonna find out for that answer. I don't want to give the wrong answer, but I know it wouldn't be us as far as that part. But I will find out. I believe it goes to the city public works.
And it would be the city then too.
I believe yes.
The city
public works, yes.
Hey,
but
Jack,
I will look into that for you as far as
because I think that would actually help people have call their attention to it. I don't know what kind of striping there might be. I don't know if there's some standard form that would alert people, hey folks, there's a stop sign here.
Yeah.
So Jack, I actually brought this up to the city on, if you look at 34th and I think it's 6th Avenue, if you're going east or west, they actually highlighted the stop signs with a note stating that through traffic doesn't have a stop. And
that's interesting.
And it's actually reflective, and it makes it very visual for anybody that's driving, which would make sense. So I suggested that to the city. Nobody replied back to me. So it's kind of but I think that is something that would actually work. And I mean, maybe next meeting we can have somebody from that avenue where we can actually talk about how we can improve some of these things just with inexpensive visual cues that will help people realize.
That's a great idea.
I think that's a great idea. And again, would the city be would that be a city thing or a county thing? I don't know.
The county's in charge of the stop signs, so I don't know if the county has to be the one to apply those.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Or if it's the city, yeah.
So I
think public works.
Good. No, good.
No, I think public works would have the answer to that one right there. So I'll call them tomorrow and inquire.
I know the intersection that he's talking about. It's 6th and 34th because I drive it every day. Coming east on that, it's kind of dangerous. You can't see, there's a telephone pole, so you can't see the traffic coming south on 6th. But on a different note, because I'm going to change the subject, my neighbor is texting me like crazy. Does anybody know of anybody knocking on doors in the Corals neighborhood asking about water quality? I guess at 6:30 tonight, two people knocked on her door. They had badges and they were doing a water quality survey, and she's like home alone freaking out.
Well, at 6:30 at night?
This is the next.
That doesn't sound right.
I was going to bring up, which Scott, I think I sent that to you already. The identity.
The IRS one, yes.
Yes. So I'm not saying that that's not true, but we're seeing that a whole lot. I sent it to Scott. Beware of these scams that's going on around here, and they'll come to your house. They'll be dressed as different personnel, tell you they work with the government. Please be careful. That a lot of this is on the rise of scam that's going around. They're trying to attempt to gain your personal information, get benefit, file taxes. So if you think you've been a victim of that, let me type that. Let me put that. Identitytheft.gov is a great. And that situation that's going on right now, who did she say was at her property?
Yeah, they knocked on her door. She lives, offhand, I don't know her address, like 17th Way and 34th Court. She said they were driving what looked like a white Toyota Highlander. They had official badges, but she couldn't see what the name of the company on the badge was. But they were asking about, they said they were there for the city to doing a survey on water quality.
She could always call the city and verify.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happened while we were on the meeting, and she texted me, so she thinks I know everything.
Yeah, a lot of times when people
She's
go,
right.
just the IRS, the Social Security, FBI, they're not going to call. So if you guys get a call, that's not them. That's going to be a scam. They won't call. But if someone comes to your residence, if you're unsure, I would give the company a call. Yeah. Or if you're fear, give us a call. We'll come out there.
Yeah, very good. Thanks.
Okay, well, did you have anything else, Deputy Osborne?
Yes, the helicopters, there was a question about helicopters flying around the 13th. There was helicopter out there. We had an armed robbery that had occurred. That's why the helicopters was out there and the K9 units was out there. So whoever posed that question, that was a good question. There was helicopters.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yeah, there was helicopters in the area. It was an armed robbery with a weapon.
Thank you, sir. Anything else for
address on that? Just because some of us live directly there. Is it okay?
I'm sorry.
Is it? I don't know if it's an open investigation, but can we get an address on that?
Yeah, it's an open investigation right now. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to release the.
I understand that.
Yeah, but like I said, guys, I like this meeting because I like when you guys bring stuff like this to our attention, because this is the only way that issues are going to get solved. And as you can see, some stuff are out of our hands that we can't, do. And so, but we try our best to enforce what we can, but it maybe takes another step. Maybe have to go to the city, but we're here and we're going to do our part. And thank you guys for bringing these things to my attention. I will definitely be out there tomorrow morning. I'm going to send an email right after I get after this. And we're currently doing traffic enforcement now because we're seeing a increase, but we have set out a lot of citations. We're going to continue to do our part.
Well, thank you. We thank you for coming on the meeting every month. And I do have to say, from one of your colleagues, they described you as almost being too nice sometimes, that you're such a nice guy.
Oh my goodness. I guess the Army ain't teaching me well.
Well, we thank you for participating and all the time you put in with us and for being such a nice guy.
No, thank you guys. You guys,
thank you.
You guys are great. I'll see you guys. If anybody's gonna be, I'll be out there in the morning because it's good. I like to get a visual myself, so I like to go out there myself and I like to see it. Because a lot of time when I drive through a lot of these streets, as someone mentioned earlier, it kind of is your vision is kind of blocked because a lot of those trees and things. So there's a lot that goes in it. So I'm gonna drive it in the area, and we're gonna start enforcing some stuff in that area. So be on the lookout. We're going to be out there.
I'll look for you.
Yeah, all right. Yes,
I'll look for you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll